Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And the picture that you're seeing on screen is a screenshot from someone that went and tested, wanted to test the Starlink T-Mobile connection in rural Texas. And they went to an area that they found, that was listed on T-Mobile's coverage map as no service or Starlink coverage. And you can see T-Mobile had no service and AT&T still had natively 1 bar, and AT&T actually got better even going further into the rural area, but we'll talk about that later. Something interesting to note here, and this is just something that I believe is the case. If you're still within a very, very, very fringe T-Mobile connection, Starlink probably won't connect. So you have to be like really off the grid, like far off the grid for your phone even to connect to Starlink. And let me show you guys what I mean by that in the next picture. So here you can see AT&T still 1 bar, still connecting. He was still calling me on that same connection, on that same AT&T connection, and it never cut out. So here's the screenshot of the set band 71 5 megahertz at 133 dBm on the RSRP. So even though that connection is pretty much dead already, it was still trying to connect onto that site. So even as you were airplane moding it, it was still trying to connect to that tower. So I think the phone was still able to register a connection, and that's why it didn't connect to Starlink, would be my guess. But this leads me to the next point that I've been trying to make in a lot of videos. I get it, and I'll say it again. The Starlink connection is better than nothing for the T-Mobile customer. I understand it. But even in this case, and there's many other examples and scenarios out there, AT&T had native coverage. Don't know about Verizon. Verizon wasn't on this trip. It was just T-Mobile and AT&T. But regardless, in the most ruralish area of Texas, AT&T maintained service, good service, while T-Mobile was cutting in and out. SOS, no service, cutting in and out, and then eventually it just went to no service. But it was still connecting to the nearest, closest possible tower, as you can see by this picture. So how did AT&T perform? This is how AT&T performed even as he got deeper into the rural Texas. 169 on the down, 33 on the upload, and then you can see the ping times and everything. So that's my only gripe with the whole Starlink situation. In this space, in this very competitive space, you are always being compared to your competitor. And as I've said before, the Starlink connection will never compare or will never be able to be compared to a native tower that is fiber fed. And you can see that here. The AT&T connection, solid, no issues. 169 on the downlink, 33 on the uplink. No problem on that connection. You can do 4K on it. You can call on it, send emails. Whatever you want to do, you can do it on that connection. Right? The Starlink connection, even if it would have connected, would have not been anywhere close to this type of performance. And until we see otherwise, I know the higher power waiver was approved, but until we see otherwise, that Starlink connection is just texting. Yeah, in the future, it might be able to do some data and some calling, but it's not going to be this fast of a connection. No way, no how. And that's what I wanted to point out in this video again. Now, I know there's going to be scenarios where you could make the argument that T-Mobile may have native coverage and the others don't, but that's far and few in between. That's the exception, not the rule. Today, as it stands, natively, T-Mobile still has the smaller network. And I figured T-Mobile was going to do this, But T-Mobile originally stated in the marketing video material that they pushed out on the announcement of the Starlink T-Mobile deal that that specific deal is only meant to cover a 500,000 square miles of non-terrestrial areas where there's literally nobody that has service. But up until this point, we've been able to find plenty of scenarios where T-Mobile has no service and Starlink will connect and AT&T and Verizon have native coverage, right? That's not as I've said before, and I'll say it again in this video, it's not a like-for-like comparison. So you're paying T-Mobile a X amount of dollars per month, and if you're not on the Go 5G Next, you're having to pay them an additional add-on fee to be able to get this service. If you don't pay extra, you're not going to have any coverage or service in these areas that T-Mobile doesn't cover natively today. So it's either you pay or you don't. There's really no in between, right? So in my opinion, if it's areas that you should be covering natively and Starlink is covering those areas now, in my opinion, it should be free for the T-Mobile customer to connect to that coverage. Unless if you're in a completely off the grid area, then yes, if you're T-Mobile, you can charge the customer for that. But if you're still in an area that's quite populated where Verizon and AT&T have native coverage, the T-Mobile customers should be able to connect to that Starlink connection for free, no charge. That's just my view, right? And I've said before, I don't think this should be a monthly charge. This should be a charge like a day pass sort of, where you can pay $10 just for that day of using that service where you're going, where you don't need, where there won't be any native coverage and where you might need the Starlink. You shouldn't have to pay monthly if you're just going to be roaming around the area that you live in where you know T-Mobile has native coverage. So I think T-Mobile needs to tweak this. I think they need to make a good amount of changes. But that's just me. I know a lot of you have different opinions and views on that. But to charge almost, right, what it would cost to get entire line access on an MVNO, meaning calling, data, and texting, it's still crazy talk to me. Still crazy. Now, I know some of you have different opinions, so let us know in the comments down below. But this should not be going the way that it is, in my opinion. Even if it comes with all the bells and whistles, the calling, the texting, the data, it's a decent connection, it still shouldn't be a monthly charge, especially if you live within cities like a metro. And even if you go out in a bit suburban, you should still have a native connection. So you should not be paying monthly for this. It just makes no sense. It should be a day pass type of situation where you go in the app, you click, okay, I'm going into this area. I want coverage. I still want some type of coverage. Oh, Starlink is here. Okay, let me add this extra $10 onto my bill this month. That's the only way I think it makes sense. Paying $10 a month for the entire year, and you only use it maybe 2 times a year when you go travel to your cottage or you're off the grid home. It's just crazy. It doesn't even make sense as I'm trying to put this all together in my head. It makes no sense, in my opinion, for this to be a monthly fee, right? Unless you go literally to an area every single day where you work, live, and play that has no service and you need to be connected to Starlink. But if that's the case, you probably shouldn't be with T-Mobile to begin with, right? So let me know your thoughts on this testing in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.